Hi, welcome to Leisure Break YouTube channel. Today, we will recap a film released on 2019, a movie called The Soldier Boy. Based in the real-life story of the youngest brave soldier of World War II. After having his family annihilated by enemies, a 6-year-old boy is rescued by soldiers and begins his journey as Russia's youngest hero. Let's watch it.
It is the year 1940s and in the midst of World War II.
The movie begins with a Russian's family, a mother and her 2 kids sitting by the river, enjoying their time. The older brother Petya is fishing in the river for their meal. While the youngest of them, Sergei Alyosha, is hanging from a tree trunk contemplating nature, and boasts to his elder brother and mother about him being on top of a tree. While his mother washes some clothes on the banks of a river, suddenly, a German fighter jet appears and starts shooting at them. The panicked mother asks her kids to hide quickly in the bushes.
But the 6-year-old Sergei Alyosha claims he is not scared, and bravely aims his powerful slingshot to strike the jet. Surprisingly, he manages to hit it, and the jet explodes. But, however, when he turns around to speak to his mother and brother, they are both gone, nowhere to find them.
At the night, he is sleeping alone. Suddenly, he wakes up from his dreams and calls out for his mother.
Just then, someone knocks on his door. Assuming it is his mother, he runs towards it. However, he is surprised by the arrival of his aunt, Anasia.
She is very scared and is panicking. She thanks God for keeping Sergei alive.
And tells him the bad news, that his mother and brother are already dead now.
Then, she asks the boy to pack his things to leave. The little boy can't comprehend what she is saying, and wants to stay in the house to wait for them.
The woman tells him that the Germans have attacked them, and that he should run away too. Just then, some German soldiers approach their house. Quickly, his aunt Anasia lifts up Sergei, and helps him run out through the window.
But, unfortunately, before she can join him, some German soldiers enter and invade the house, and, without any words, they directly shoot at Sergei's only relatives and hopes his aunt Anasia's life ends up again too.
Now, only the little 6-year-old boy is on his own, with no family nor any friends. As Sergei runs out from the house, he sees houses in his whole neighborhood burning. He calls out for his mother, but all in vain, so, he runs away from there. After running for a while, he ends up in the middle of the woods. The boy runs into the forest in terrors, and tries to find a place to hide deep down. The desperate little kid starts to call for his mother to come and get him, because he is lost.
He still believes that his mother will searches for him.
The boy could barely imagine the challenges he would face from now on.
After few hours have passed, Sergei has to find a way to survive on his own.
Night arrives again. In the forest, Sergei is still alone. The hungry and tired little boy falls asleep, deep in the forest.
At the following morning, when he wakes up, he goes to the river.
But while he is drinking water on the banks of a river, the boy is surprised by the arrival of some soldiers.
When the enemy soldiers approach his way, knowing that they are dangerous for him.
Traumatized by what those soldiers had done and what has happened before. Sergei afraid they will find him. Quickly, he looks for a place to hide. Sergei sneaks between the roots of a large tree and quickly hides behind those big roots. But something unexpected happens. He is startled when a snake comes and crawls just beside him. Though, the little boy is scared to death by the big snake.
But, even so, he forces himself to remain silent. He doesn't utter a word or run out from there.
As for him, no fear is greater than that of suffering the same fate as his family members from German soldiers' hands. So, Sergei's scared for the soldiers is more greater than the fear of the snake. Meanwhile, the soldiers takes rest by the river, and eat their lunches. After eating their foods, they put out the fire and leave that place. After they go away, hoping to find some scraps of food, hungry Sergei picks up cans left by the soldiers, takes their leftover food and devours some for later.
However, as the days passed by, the little boy is exhausted as he hasn't had a proper meal for some few days.
He is so weak that he can barely walk. While on his way, fortunately, he finds some wild berries. He picks up some berries and devours them. But just then, an explosion occurs behind him, taking him by surprise. Some bombs are dropped in that place. So, Sergei knows he has to flee from that place. However, even in such conditions, he stands bravely, shouts out saying that he has a rifle, and he is not scared at all. But, that very afternoon, it starts to rain. From exhaustion and as he falls down, he hurts his leg, and now, he is limping. But he doesn't stop walking. However, the boy has been very tired and exhausted for walking forward with having any proper plan nor any destination. He has no more strength left in him for to go out in search of food or shelter. He limps forward, but shortly, the boy gets dizzy, and after a while, he falls down unconscious. While he is asleep, he starts to hallucinate someone coming towards him. At that very moment, in reality, Sergei is approaches and found by two Russian soldiers. In the Russian army base, Commander Kuznetsov waits for his soldiers who are patrolling. A few hours later, those soldiers who find Sergei come in with the little kid, who is injured and weak. At the base, they are greeted by the commander, who immediately requests his men to help him feeds and takes care of the boy. When the soldiers tell the boy that they are Russian soldiers, and they are on his side. Just then, the little boy introduces himself, and puts out his little hand to shake. The soldiers laugh when the kid shakes his hand with the commander, suggesting he introduce himself too. The soldiers feel affectionate with the little kid, and circle him around.
They make him drinks and feeds him. From that day onwards, the boy is everyone's favorite child.
Even the cold commander too, get fond of and takes care of the kid. A nurse named Katya dresses Sergei's wounds, and she too is charmed by his manner and personality. He asks her to draw a tank on his tummy, because he wants to be a soldier when he grows up. Even the injured soldiers talk to the kid, and feel lighter. The commander, Kuznetsov, goes to check on Sergei. He is relieved to see that the boy is slowly recovering. The boy tells the commander that he receives an injection with a huge needle which caused him a lot of pain. Also, he admits that, at first he wanted to run away, but due to his courageous he decided to stay. Sergei is fascinates with the commander's pistol and his badge.
Finally, Sergei asks for the commander to show him his pistol.
After unloading and taking the bullets out, he hands it over to Sergei and lets him play with his honorary pistol.
Sergei asks about the signature on the side of the weapon. Then, Commander Kuznetsov reveals that it is a special weapon which was given to him by General Ostershow.
He gives answers to all the little boy's questions. Hearing all these, Sergei gets even more excited and starts simulating as if he was shooting at this point. The man takes the pistol from the boy's hands and puts it back as the boy is still too young to develop a taste for that sort of thing. Contrary to all the commander's expectations, Sergei shows off the battle tank drawn on his belly. And boasts about being a soldier himself. When the commander leaves the infirmary, the nurse Katya takes the courage to go and talk to the commander on about the boy. The nurse asks him to let Sergei stay with the battalion. But, immediately, Commander Kuznetsov disagrees and denies her request. He says that a child doesn't belong there, and claiming that it won't be safe for him, and says that he will take Sergei to an orphanage. The boy is healing very quickly. As it is a time of war, the soldiers try to distract their minds by talking about their family members, before starting each new battle. In the infirmary, while his injuries is tended by the nurse Katya. However, when they least expect it, they are surprised by a bombs, attack from an enemies again. Due to the attack, newly wounded soldiers arrive at the infirmary, and all the available women rushes to tend to them. Even weak and injured Sergei doesn't rest for a minute, but shows enthusiasm to learn more about being a soldier. Little by little the boy fit in and win the hearts of everyone around him. Even, many soldiers visit Sergei in the infirmary throughout the day, and spend all their free time with him. They bring him foods sent by their families from afar, and even let him play with their binoculars too.
Sergei and those soldiers spend their moment happily. During the night, Katya talks to her fellow nurse and tells her that she can't sleep anymore since Sergei arrived at the base. She can't stop thinking about him. The woman claims that the moment she saw him for the first time, something inside her changes like a maternal instinct. Katya reveals that although she doesn't want the boy to be in the middle of the war but to be in a safe environment.
But her biggest fear is that the commander will send him somewhere else, and she will never find him anymore again. The next day, one soldier goes to talk to Commander Kuznetsov, asking him to let the boy stay with the battalion. The soldiers have grew a close connection with the kid, and think of him as their own. His presence takes the weight of war off their chest. So, the soldier tries to convinces him to let the boy stays at the camp as the soldiers have become attached to him. Although the commander admits that he is attaches to the boy too. However, once again, he states that there is no place for children in that war camp, since it is for the children's future, while these soldiers were fighting in a battlefield now. So, the commander is adamant about sending the boy to the orphanage for his own safety. He has to do what is best for the little boy, and he says that he has already signed necessary papers for the orphanage.
So, his men must start getting used to not having the young boy around the camp anymore. The enemies attack them again the following day, and many soldiers are hurt and injured.
During an attack, Commander Kuznetsov orders his soldiers to fight back the enemies, while he goes to the battlefield to help Katya, who is carrying out the rescue of a wounded soldiers.
A few hours later, when that battle comes to an end, they return to the camp.
Just then, a vehicle comes to fetch Sergei to take him to the orphanage. The orphanage's director too came and waits in the car.
While they bid farewell to the boy, Nurse Katya is extremely sad and decides to leave without saying goodbye to him.
The commander Kuznetsov asks Sergei to sit next to him and he breaks the news to the kid. He tries to explain to him what will happen, and gives him a wooden honorary pistol as a gift. But, then on, however, before he could say anything more, the boy starts crying and hugs him claiming that he is scared for the commander's safety, and was afraid he wouldn't be able to see him again anymore. And then, the commander melts while the kid embraces him, so, he changes his mind. He asks Sergei if the boy would like to stay with the soldiers and as his own son too. His replies is positive. So, then, Kuznetsov makes up his mind. He rips up the orphanage documents he had already signed. Sergei is now going to stay in the camp. That night, the joyous soldiers look for little soldier clothes for the little kid. As the newest member of the army needs a uniform of his size, their challenge is finding clothes that fit Sergei. One soldier brings some old cloth pieces to the army's tailor to make new clothes for the boy. Katya too appears with the smallest boots she can from the shoemaker. They are perfectly fit for Sergei. Now, they are overjoyed to have Sergei to stay with them. The next morning, Commander Kuznetsov comes to the boy's room and wakes him up. The commander mentions that a real soldier must have to get dressed in 45 seconds. To count the 45 seconds, the commander lights a matchstick and tells Sergei to get ready before the wood burns out completely. Sergei wears a soldier's uniform now. After he dressed up, he runs around happily as he dress up like a real soldier. Sergei is excited to show off his new uniform to his teammates. Soldiers in the camp too start calling him their little soldier boy. Just then, at that very moment, their enemies surprise them again. The Germans launch an air attack on the battalion fiercely. The commander runs to protect his son, Sergei. He orders one of his men to take the boy to the trench. The soldiers quickly take Sergei to a safe place while all other soldiers fight back their enemies with taking cover in the trenches. During the airstrike, some soldiers are wounded and injured. And then, Sergei too wants to make himself useful, and quickly goes to the infirmary.
The number of injured soldiers grows rapidly. To help and to take care of them, he brings and offers water to thirsty soldiers, and too is willing to help them with whatever else they need.
One of the soldier, who had his eyes bandaged, requests Sergei to read him the letter sent by his family. The little boy wants to help, however the boy still doesn't know how to read. So, he takes the letter and starts making up the things written on it, and begins to invent a new way, and interpret the letter in his own ways, giving out good news to give the poor soldier to make him happy. He claims that, back at home, the soldier's cow is sound safe. But when the soldier says that he doesn't have any cow, the others tell him to go along with the story and laugh happily. Then, he reads everyone else's letters too in the same fashion, interpreting by his own way, and cheers them up. As bombs kept falling outside, to calm his comrades, Sergei offers to sing for them. Everyone gets emotional after all, that is a moment of great tension. And even so, only a little boy able to give relief and even a hope in the hearts of those sick men after those dark battleground. Sergei takes a nap on Nurse Katya's lap, and his father, the commander too, arrives after and sits next to Katya, and they have few conversation. The two seem to be attracted to each other, but do not confess their feelings. Kuznetsov claims he needs to tell her something, but suddenly Sergei wakes up and messes up the whole plan. As some soldiers spot Sergei shaving and decide to make fun of him, asking if the boy was getting ready for a date. The kid claims that he is a soldier, and according to him soldiers do not go on dates. Later, Sergei introduces himself to the commander as he is of the orderly position in the battalion and starts introducing himself as one. Then, he asks the commander what is his task for the day will be, and he insists to give him a mission. But, his father, Commander Kuznetsov, questions why there was a bandage on his face, and Sergei claims that, as a result of an oversight, he cut himself while shaving just like the commander himself. Just few days back, Sergei asks his father, Commander Kuznetsov, why he has a sticker stuck on his face. So then, he tells Sergei that due to an oversight, he cut himself while shaving. After that, he is given a task to go and get the letters from the truck that was about to arrive, and to distribute those letters to the soldiers. The men start dancing with happiness when they receive the letters from their relatives. He completes his task efficiently and he is very happy. This makes the boy start to like his work even more. One day, the boy sees one of the soldiers' station destroyed from the previous attack. The commander teaches him to take his hat off and how to pay respect and homage to the dead soldiers. The following day, at the end of the task, Sergei decides to use his camouflage suit to sneak around the camp. Sergei goes a little far from the base with his binoculars. As he is playing and peers through his binoculars, suddenly, he spots a pair of boots, someone's leg moving in a haystack. Trying to fit in inside the haystack, looking for a hiding place. He rushes back to the battalion and tells the soldiers about his findings. The soldiers are skeptical, but they still go with the boy anyway, and check what was going on. When they reach near the haystack, they are alert to see spies hiding underneath. After exchanging a few shots, they end up encountering with 2 German soldiers' spies. After they manage to capture those spies, Sergei and his comrades returns to their camp. Commander Kuznetsov learns from one of his men that his son helps captures 2 spies. He is very surprises and very proud of the boy's bravery and modesty. The kid is praised for his intelligence. That night, Commander Kuznetsov receives permission to adopt the boy, and from that day onward they will be officially a family, a father and a son. Sergei is overjoyed and calls his father to go and tell the good news to Katya. Sergei says that he once saw Katya is crying when Kuznetsov was wounded in battle. The commander is disconcerted to hear that but still decides to accompany Sergei. Meanwhile, Sergei knows of the commander's feelings for Katya, so, to repay his kindness towards him, he takes him to confess to her. At that time, Katya is washing herself on the banks of the river. Just then, a soldier sneaks up, and calls out to her and hands her a bouquet of flowers that he picks by himself. Katya is clearly uncomfortable with the situation and wants to avoid him. At that very moment, Sergei and his father appear nearby, in the hill. The 2 sees her talking to a different man, and wrongfully assume she is interested in someone else. So, the commander tries to disguise while watching intently. Kuznetsov soon identifies the situations and pulls the boy back.
However, Sergei manages to free himself from his arms and runs towards Katya. And then, he calls out for his father, but the embarrassed commander has already left from that place.
The base is attacked by the German soldiers again. This time, Sergei helps the soldiers with all his might. The boy walks through the trenches by supplying ammunition to the soldiers in the front line. After receiving the ammunition, the soldiers asks the boy to go back to the shed and to hide in the underground shelter as it is too dangerous outside.
But, still the young boy Sergei decides to help them and refuses to abandon his comrades.
But the soldier manages to convince him that this is an order and a good soldier must follow the orders of his superiors. Still the young boy decides to help them in the battle. When he comes to the shed, he overhears and sees that the commander and others are panicking, as his father and his companions are talking about failed connection. The telephone's wire is snaps, and so phone's connection with the colonel is lost. A soldier is sent to fix the broken wires. Just then, Sergei decides to follow the soldier, and crawls on the ground in order to avoid getting hit by bullets. When he reaches, he sees an injured soldier. But, he is the soldier he follows. Now he has been fatally wounded. Still, he tries to help, and asks the dying soldier how he can fix the wires. Sergei follows the dying soldier's instructions. By joining the 2 ends of the wires, he does the fixing by himself. By doing so, the connection returns and the commander is able to call for reinforcements. This heroic act of 6-year-old boy saves hundreds of lives. After the battle, Sergei starts coming up with a new plan. His next mission is to bring Katya and her father together, as he has already realized that they have an interest for each other. The boy runs to the nurse and says that the commander is sick, and then he takes the nurse running to commander's room. Upon arriving there, she finds Kuznetsov lying on the table, and wakes him up in despairs. In the meantime, Sergei was already hiding, watching them secretly. As Katya tries to examine him, the commander wakes up startled, and claims he is not sick. Then, the nurse explains what happened. And then, instantly, Kuznetsov understands all of his son's plan. Taking chances, he gathers his strength and tries to confess his feelings towards her. But Katya is extremely embarrassed and takes a leaves. However, he couldn't let this chance passes by, so he goes after her. Later, in the forest, the commander Kuznetsov finally manages to reaches Katya by the riverside, and he tries to talk to her. But he can't find the right words to express exactly what he wants to say.
So, he decides to put Sergei in the love story and claims that the boy likes and loves her very much.
And then, finally, he asks if Katya would like to become the boy's mother, by that way he confesses his love for her. Katya is full of happiness and overjoy. However, before the nurse can respond, and she can says anything, a soldier approaches them and delivers a letter, a message from the high command, saying their battalion have been dispatches to another base. The following day, the army prepares to leave, and all the soldiers along with Sergei leave for their new base. However, on their way, they come across and ends up in a minefield. Then suddenly, their vehicles are explodes. Sergei and everyone around are bewildered by the noise of mine's bomb. The commander too is hurt, while the group's orderly, who Sergei was very close with too dies in the explosion. He cries and hugs his father. They carry the injured and wounded soldiers with them and continue their journey to their new base. When they finally reach the other base, they meet the general. While the commander talks to the general, Sergei comes and asks what his next task will be. Then, the boy is asked to inspect the soldiers' uniforms. The boy enlists the help of an officer to carry out this task. And after checking all the soldiers' boots and suits, he asks the man to write down the names of all those whose uniforms are damaged.
After complying with what was ordered, the boy returns to the general's office to delivers the report.
The general too is impressed by the kid's ambition, and congratulates the commander for having such a smart kid. On the following day, their division is going to be awards a guard's banner. During the night, Sergei and his father walk through the forest, talking about the upcoming award ceremony. The guard insignia as in badge given to those who risk their lives to save the country. This means, of course, that Sergei too will also receive this award during the ceremony. When the day comes, their division is awarded a guard's banner, and Sergei too promises to save his country when the general gives him his badge.
One night, while the boy is still celebrating his first award, their base is attacked fiercely, a bomb is dropped and the commander Kuznetsov is trapped under the ruins, and buried among rubbles.
Sergei cries for his father and tries to save him. He tries to get him out of there, but he doesn't have enough strength to lift the big rubble. He calls the other soldiers and later, with the help of his comrades they finally take out the commander out and quickly they give him medical care. The next day, Sergei approaches an injured commander. He himself too hurts his hands while he was trying to save the commander. Despite being badly injured, the commander is recovering and soon he is ready again to march with his companions again. The kid too is now an inseparable part of the team. He doesn't have a family besides them, and moves wherever they go in the war. The regiment moves base to base, wherever they need them.
There too, still the boy soldier is with them and he even took part in the famous Stalingrad's battle. In that war, the battalion with whom Sergei is with even reached Poland too. In the year 1943, Sergei was decorated as the youngest soldier of World War II, and he received a Medal of Honor too. He is currently known as the world's youngest soldier ever, and the legendary story of the 6-year-old boy soldier's bravery is now spread to the whole world. If you like the video, please subscribe the channel, and press a like button and leave a comment to help the channel reach out more. Also, if you like the video, please share it to your friends and dear ones. Let's hope to have more movie recaps with your help. Thank you for watching. See you next time.